This episode is sponsored by DroneWorks Ireland, your go-to place when it comes to buying a drone, repairing a drone, and also when you need professionals to carry out any aerial work you may need. Check out their website at www.droneworksireland.ie. This podcast is brought to you by Hoare Chartered Accountants. Hoare Chartered Accountants are based in Galway City and are a leading provider of audit, accountancy and taxation services. For more information, visit hoarecharteredaccountants.ie. Welcome along to the Maroon and White Pod. So the Galway Senior and Premier Intermediate Hurling Championships kick back into gear this weekend with round 2 taking place. 8 games in Senior, 8 games in Premier Intermediate, along with 4 games in the Premier Junior Hurling Championship as well. I'm delighted to be joined by former Loughrea hurler Emmet Mahony and Kevin Brady to look ahead to the games. Brady, coming to you first. It's a bit of a funny one this weekend. There's probably a handful of games in Senior which are maybe tough to call, but a lot of games probably in Senior this weekend that seem predictable already at this stage to call.
Yeah, and no, if that makes sense. I suppose there was a lot of games predictable last week going on the bookies or 2 weeks ago, but we called a lot of them fairly right. There was a few big shocks, but I could see Athenry, causing an upset. I couldn't see Loughrea being beaten, to be honest with you. That was a shock thrown to me. But we always spoke about Larkins, if you're going to get a team like Loughrea or Thomas's, or would say whoever in their prime, get them early on in the championship. And that's what they've done. And I suppose Athenry targeted Turlough. And I suppose Turlough probably, took their foot off the gas a small bit, and Athenry pushed for home. So, yeah, there was a few shocks. And at the other end of it, there wasn't shocks, you could see it's a young man's game now, and young teams are really starting to believe, that I suppose, to put it in a nutshell, shocks, and we're just on about today at work, myself and one of the lads, that, Loughrea are going for 3 in a row, but they're still not the powerhouse of, we'd say, Tommy's in their prime. So a lot of teams have come to the fore now, and you can pick any 6 teams there, that'll win a county title this year, and it's a great way for Galway hurling.
Were you surprised coming away from Duggan Park, Emmet? Obviously, I think everyone knew Tommies were going to give Loughrea a right rattle in the opening day, particularly probably Loughrea. They're probably only getting everyone back now together at the right time. Obviously, a lot involved with Galway, a lot with the 20s, so they're probably the last few weeks have only, I suppose, got everyone together.
Yeah, there was I think 5 lads in America through, to be honest, to answer your question, I wasn't really with the players Tommy's had, especially after losing last year against Thomas's the way they did. They were, I'd say, thinking about the next match, last year straight away. Loughrea always first few games are kind of, they don't really know what team kind of like to put out, because there's so many options. So I wasn't really surprised, because I knew Tommy Larkins would put it up to them, for them real reasons. But it was a good game of hurling, and some great scores were got. But fair play to them. The best team won on the day, and that's the way the first round goes, with surprises.
Obviously, we know Hansy's going to be out for a while for Loughrea. Obviously, Anthony Burns is a big loss, isn't he?
He's a big loss. Yeah, he's back doing a bit of training now, I think, though, as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a couple of lads to come back. Lads getting fitter. They still sprung, I think, 4 subs the last day. So it's going to be a very hard team to pick against Mike Cullen. There was a few lads, in positions that I didn't think, I was surprised to see, let's say, Morgan in the full back line and Shane O'Brien coming on to centre forward. So I think they don't really know where to put some of the players, but they're kind of experimenting at the same time too, just to freshen things up a bit. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what team lines out against Mike Cullen.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because Looking back, the team that played against Ballygunner, there was 13 out of the 15 that started against Tommy Larkins on the opening day. But if you look at the likes of Jack Shaughnessy, Gavin Maher, like all these players who've been with Galway under 20s, like it almost feels maybe now could be a time to unleash some of these players, but it's a big decision to make, obviously, because if you bring some of these players in, there's big players losing out. But it's a great position for Loughrea to be in as well, with all these younger players coming through.
Yeah, it's unreal. Like, I mean, Jack is going to be a great asset to Galway and Loughrea. He's still very young. You've Ethan Coleman there, Lee Murphy. Um, you've you've Martin McManus as well to come back in. You've there's only six forwards that you can start, and like I mean, there's 8 or 9 lads there that would make any senior team in Galway. So it just shows the depth to have. Like I mean, it's a good headache to have for Tommy and Gavin and boys. But they will spring them. Like he's not afraid to spring young lads early on in the championship, which is great to see too.
Obviously, Loughrea taking on Mike Cullen, the first game this weekend, 7:30 Friday evening in Pearse Stadium. Uh, Brady, looking at this, Mike Cullen didn't get the result against Gort on the opening day. They're probably coming up now against a wounded animal, you imagine, at the weekend.
Yeah, and it's very hard to. You don't want to be disrespectful to Mike Hurling either, and like their championship really clinched on the Gart game, really. When you look at the group, because and for Gart, theirs did as well. So Gart are probably safe at this stage now. No disrespect to Gart either, but they'll be happy enough with their 2 points. Mike Cullen now are fighting for their lives, and I think the Loughrea lads will have a serious point to prove. Um, I think they go to town on Mike Cullen, and really show the management that step up and they want to put their hands up. Emmet said it there. What's the best team for Loughrea to pick? That's their biggest problem, but it's a great thing to have. But at the same time, sometimes it can cause an awful distraction in a group. You know, um, like when you're not settled with your 17 or 18 players, when you can spring 20, 21 guys and one guy is as good as the next, there's no consistency in your group then. I know it's first round of the championship, but they'd be looking, yeah, to put it in a nutshell, Shocks, they will win Sunday or the weekend and they'll win easily. Then they're going in against a local derby against Gart, and anything can happen. But you can't see anything past Loughrea this weekend. Easy winners, to be honest with you.
Yeah, just looking, Colin Cunningham is a doubt with a hamstring, Keane Folan as well with a hip. Um, Brady, just from your own perspective, there's only a handful of players probably in the senior hurling championship at the minute that are playing football and hurling week in, week out. Like it's not what it used to be. How challenging is this week on week for these players? It's obviously something you experienced during your playing days.
Yeah, I remember those 13 weekends in a row. I was playing between hurling football, and you might have a replay. Like it was savage, and that was championship shocks. And you're trying to mind your body. Then it all comes down to management, really. You don't really train during the week. You get your recovery and you get it right. But the biggest thing is appetite. But I always found myself, and I only speak for myself personally, if I had a good game of football, I'd be got mad for football. If I had a good game of hurling, I'd be got mad for hurling. But it's amazing. Like there's two totally different dressing rooms. I know Mike Cullen will have the same dressing room with a lot of guys, but when I play with Kilconnelly, it'll be a totally different dressing room to a hurling dressing room within Castlegare. Totally different environment, even in with your Galway footballers and Galway hurlers. Totally different kind of guys. So yeah, it is tough. It's nearly a thing of the past now. It's a pity, like it really is, because the GA is amateur. If you're good enough, let them out in it. But it does take an awful toll on his body, Shocks.
Yeah, obviously, Phil McDonagh calls real chaos on the edge of the square, and he's been playing football in Ireland week in, week out for Mike Cullen. So, Loughrea definitely need a big man back there, full back to deal with that long ball. Brady, you're obviously going for Loughrea, I imagine, by here, but how much?
Not being disrespectful to Mike Cullen, but I'll go 10 plus for Loughrea here.
Yeah, I'm going Loughrea by 12. How do you see this one, Emmet?
Same with Kevin and yourself, Paul. Like it's on in Pearse Stadium. If it was on in Bannislone or Loughrea, I no disrespect to my Cullen, I'd give them a chance, 3 or 4 points, but there's going to be a lot of space, and you could see a lot of goals. So Loughrea by 10 or more points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or more. Looking at the other game, then 1 o'clock Sunday in Kilbacon, it's Tommy Larkins coming up against Gort. Uh, this is going to be an interesting one, Emmet, because obviously there's a bit of pressure and expectation now, I suppose, around Tommy Larkins heading into this one to follow, I suppose, the Loughrea went up.
Yeah. Gort had a good win against Mike Cullen, so the two teams have 2 points, yeah, don't they?
Yeah,
That this is on Kilbacon as well, I see.
yeah,
So
Kilbacon, yeah.
a funny old pitch. They never really used to get championship matches, only in recent years since they did it up and made a fine job of it. I think like Tommy's are going really well, like with the county lads to have, and Jason Flynn being with them all year. I think Tommy's will be very hard stop this time as well. But again, very close. Like all the games last weekend were so close because the standard is so high. Everyone is training 4 or 5 nights a week. Again, like there won't be 4 or 5 points in it, but I do think Tommy's will. They could top the group now from beating Loughrea. They could get into a quarter final very easily if they beat Gort, and then who have the left end, Mike Cullen.
Mike Cullen left in the final game, yeah.
So you're like, they could be straight into a quarter final very easily with the win over Loughrea. So they've just too much firepower. They're too fit, too strong. Especially with Murphy in goals. Like he's like a seventh back. He's like a sweeper. So yeah, I think Tommy's would be too strong for Gort.
Just a point on the Loughrea game. Ronan Murphy obviously dropped very deep for Larkins against Loughrea.
Yeah.
Just on that
Um,
point, like it's obviously interesting to see because he was such an impressive midfielder last year in the championship. But like, did Loughrea find that difficult to, I suppose, break it down, particularly when you have such an intelligent hurler like Ronan Murphy back there?
yeah, they did, and they didn't break it down quick enough. I think they brought on Shane O'Brien to try and mark him. But he's a back or midfield. He's a great year last year, wing back, one of the best years of his life for Loughrea. But he got on an awful lot of ball and was pinging it around the place. Didn't, they could have tightened it up there right a bit more. So yeah, they'll have to. He'll probably do the same thing again, this weekend. But I suppose they have the video now and the analysis. A lot of teams have evidence of what teams are trying to do, so you can't really do it again. You have to change it a bit, because the opposition will have a cop fairly quick straight away. So that's the other thing. You have to have a plan B coming into these games as well.
It's an interesting one here then, in terms of Gort and Brady. They probably haven't met anyone like Tommy Larkins this year, playing in Division 2 in the league, obviously, and then played Mike Cullen, got over the line. But like this is going to rise a few levels in intensity now for Gort at the weekend.
It will, yeah. Cardiff had a good year as well last year, like Shocks. They've come under the radar. They're like a team that are just like, you look at Lal there, like he's flying us into forward. They have a couple of great young fellas coming. They're strong. They're physically strong. Gort were always physically strong. But I think they'll get caught if they're hurling, as the standard is going to be that bit high for them. But I believe they'll hold their own. I just can't see them beating Larkins. You're on about the two Murphys there, Murphy in goal and Ronan Murphy. Like, he dropped back the last day. He's nearly doing what David Burke does for Tommy's. For Thomas's, he drops back the half back line. He's a link man. He pops goals and he moves the ball. He's a very, very smart hurler. How he's in Galway, because we need options for centre field. Like, he's a huge, huge hurler. And Emmet said it there with Jason Flynn back with his own club all year. And I know David Burke is in with his own club as well all year. I'm just giving an example of the county lads that were released or
Yeah,
retired. It's a
Keane
huge
Daniels
boost
as
for their
well
club getting back.
had a big game too.
Yeah,
His last day out.
yeah, yeah. But listen, big players, big day. That's what they want, and them lads have serious standards. And I know, you know, like Larkins really, really believe that they can push for a county title. Emmet said it there, they could find themselves in a quarter final very, like they're looking at a quarter final and beyond it. But Gart, there's been all rivalry there between them. Gart had usually years ago blow them out of the water. It's turning now. It's turning, the tides are turning. That's the great thing about sport, it's up and down and ebbs and flows. So I just think Larkins will win it by 3 points the next day.
I suppose just in terms of Gort, the big thing here, Brady, will be getting, I suppose, more of a spread of scores. Like Aidan Helibert scored 15 out of their 124 the last day out.
Yeah, but listen, Helibert is doing it with how long, but the biggest thing here now for me is discipline on the field. Gart sometimes, and I know they have, and Loughrea used to have the same reputation, being wild and a bit loose with the hurl, and discipline goes out the window a bit. Loughrea have tidied all that up, and look where they are now. Gart seem to have tidied it up, but you give Jason Flynn a sniff at 90 yards, no more than Ty Carden or Farrer or Conor Cooney, it's nailed over the bar. And you know, you cannot be relying on one guy like Helibert, in at the edge of the square and bringing him out to centre forward. And, it just won't work. Larkins have too much of a spread. They've wing backs that come up the field and they score. So I just think Larkins are going to be too strong. The only thing that might stick for Gart is, Kilbacon is a tight enough field. It's long, but it's a tight enough field. It might suit them. They might be able to, bring it into a dogfight. But I just think Larkins will have too much shocks.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Larkins by 7. How do you see this one, Emmett?
Yeah, I think Larkins they're on a roll. It wasn't a fluke against Loughrea. Larkins by 4 or 5. Yeah.
Larkins by 5 there. Looking then at Group 2, Clembridge meeting Captagal then at 4:45 on Saturday evening in Duggan Park there. Uh, it's really backs to the wall here in terms of Capitagal's championship ambitions here. They could find themselves, if results go wrong here at the weekend, into relegation with a game to go here. So it's backs to the wall, but they're really coming up against a Cambridge team who are really seeming to get a lot right so far this year, Emmett.
Yeah, I was surprised. I had 6 out of the 8 games last week. I was listening to your podcast, and this was one of them. Cappy against Lee Mellows, I got wrong. I was surprised they were bet 7 points against Lee Mellows, but I didn't really know. Like Scahill wasn't around. There was a few more lads that were injured. Was Mannion injured? James Scahill not in goals. I was very surprised, like, because they've been top 4 teams for the last 3-4 years, like, and Mellows only up, like, So I was very surprised. And then Bridge, I know Crowell came back to from only 2 or 3 points in it in the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kieran Lean's short range freeze probably papered over the cracks. It was probably comfortable really up to that.
yeah. This is on Duggan Park. Um, like Bridge, like, yeah, did a great win there last week. Like I said, Cappy, they're young. There's a lot of lads there that are coming new into it that I don't know much about. Like they're relying still on a couple of the older lads as well. They're kind of in transition, like, they were so close over the few years, but just didn't get to the final, like, or they got to a final, but didn't get over the line. And I just think it's on in Duggan Park as well, which will suit Capitagal now, actually. A tighter pitch. You know, so that'll suit them. So I think that their backs are to the wall. If they don't win, they're in big trouble. I mean, like their group 2 there, I think Crowell, Clarenbridge and Lee Mellows will come out of that group.
Mm.
Unfortunately for Capitagal with the first loss, and then you're coming into Clarenbridge that are top of their game. So yeah, it's not looking good for Cappy, but at the same time they have a chance because everyone's writing them off. So yeah,
Are Bridge looking to later in the year, do you feel, particularly when you look back to that quarter final last year, like it was a game they were really in control of?
they were, yeah, only for Tiernan. um, Only for Tiernan they would have won, really, So I think they get better as the year goes on, like, but then as the weather gets worse, it doesn't suit them either. So they love the summer hurling, like they're lighter, they're fast forwards. So that's the other side of it that will go against them come, November. But yeah, they will get better as it goes on, but I think yeah they'll have too much for Captagal. I think in Duggan Park.
Brady, we're getting a lot of credit from a couple of listeners last time out for backing Mellows against Cappy.
Yeah, listen, I fancied Mellows and I fancied them again this weekend, to be honest with you. I think Mellows, they're throwing caution to the wind. I fancied them last year to come up, they did. Um, I've no relations adding up there. I guess
Are you
anyone
sure
would.
now?
No, I listen, between Mellows and Cashel, I just think the city teams at the moment are moving well. But yeah, going back to the Cappy thing, like Cappy would have been they were so close the last few years, shocks, and like Emmet said there, the tighter pitch in Ballinasloe will suit them, but like I think they'll make a dogfight of this, But when you make a dogfight of something like this, Anthem within 90 yards, Nyland's going to put it over the bar. Referee's a big thing on it. And your county lads are always going to get a rub of the green, rightly so, because you have to mind them to a degree. But if there's any team that's going to upset Clarenbridge in this group, it's going to be Cappy because their style of hurling is totally different to what Clarenbridge play. Clarenbridge plays such a fast moving game off the shoulder, boom, moved inside. And they rotate their forwards, they rotate them. There's never a six set forward, they'll put the two on the edge of the square and they'll move them, rotate them, and they'll keep their backs moving all the time. And I don't think Cappy will go with that. I just think Cappy will sit. And if they can keep goals out, keep their discipline, they have a chance. And I think they'll target them. They'll have a right cut at them. I'd like to know who the referee'd be in this game. Um,
Just the thing for Cappy, like I think the losses can't be underestimated this season. Ja Mannion's a doubt in corner forward. Niall Collins is away in America. The Donald Mannion's unavailable, and James Scales obviously stepped away this year, too from Captagal. So that's four players there that you really can't be affording to lose.
no, you can't lose them. You can't lose four of your, would
Now
say,
they'll obviously
less.
be hoping to have Ja Mannion, but the other three, like they're not with them this year.
Yeah, Jam Mannion will play. Listen, Jam Mannion has been there with how long, and he's been doing it with Galway, the league for years, and he's their top player. He won't want to miss, to have a shootout with Aaron Island. Let the two of them go at it, and that's the mentality of a good sportsman. He wants to be out playing against the best, not in the league. It's out here, That's what to be training all year for. So but you can't see Clarenbridge beaten. Genuinely can't. They've always been known as a nice team, and they are a nice team, but they're becoming a very nice team. And they really are. They're really, really becoming men now. I still don't think they're county champion material. Coming down the home straight, I think they'll be tested, but I think they'll have way too much in the bag for Cappy. No, I do believe Cappy will stick with them for 45 minutes, 45 minutes, but I think once Clarenbridge hit the net, I think they'll open the floodgates. So I'm going to go for Clarenbridge by 7 here.
Clarenbridge by seven, yeah, I'm going for Clarenbridge by six here. There's even a couple of, I suppose, maybe the players that maybe aren't county players for them are really impressed with them. Phelan McCann at full back was really good against Crowell, and Dylan Dunn as well, really good going forward. But like having Joshua Ryan in midfield, and you see him limiting Tom Monaghan to 2 points from play, like
Mhm.
there's huge quality. They're really assembling a nice team, and I suppose getting players into the right positions, and I suppose putting all these moving parts together. But I do think there will be a big performance coming from Cappy. How do you see this one, Emmet?
Yeah, like you said, Paul, like going through like Bridge, like you've so many county lads, Ocean Salmon, Gavin Lee, TJ Brennan, Joshua Ryan, you've Aaron Island, Evan Island, like it's crazy really. And then you've really good lads on the bench, Salmon and a few other lads like Daly's. So yeah, like Clare Bridge by 5 points or more.
Bridge by 5 points or more. Looking then at the clash between Mellows and Cappy, um, or sorry, Mellows and Crowell here. Crowell obviously losing open day out. Mellows momentum really with them now on the back of that um, Captagal result for them. It's an interesting one here as I talk about it here, Emmett. Like momentum's with Mellows. Crowell obviously semi-finalists last year, but now they have to come here now and bounce back.
Yeah, I was actually talking to a Crow lad who knows a lot about Crowell hurling, and he said like they're playing Lee Mellows, and like Mellows had a good win against Cappy, but he said he can't see them being beaten. Um, they kind of turned up late against Cambridge, really, didn't they?
Yeah.
So I think but then like Lee Mellows beat Capitagle 7 points, so this is going to be very close. This game, Mellows and Crowell, it's on in Kenny Park as well, so that will suit both teams. Um, Crowell are going, they're always up there, thereabouts with the players they have, Um, I think like Joe Halloran, they're still playing. Mark Hoare and last year they were all there. Them lads, Tom Monaghan, Lean and Jamie Ryan. Even he's captain or joint captain. He's still playing well. He's like some man to win first time ball, like first prime possession to catch a ball. He just doesn't lose possession, or it always sticks going into him. So I think yeah, Crowell, I can't see Crowell being bet. And I know Mellows beat Cappy by 7 points, but it's going to be tight. But I think Crowell should win it because they're under such pressure. If they lose, they're under serious pressure, like you said, Paul.
Yeah, I think it's probably the spread of scores. It'll probably be the biggest improvement to be looking for here. Emmet, like Kieran Lee hit 2-9 out of their 217. Tom was obviously limited by Joshua Ryan, only got 2 points, and even a player like Adrian Prendergast as well. They'll be looking to probably get a bigger spread of scores in attack this weekend.
Yeah, and they kind of do rely on Tom Monaghan a lot, even like as Galway do for 5 or 6 points. Um, I don't know like their bench. I don't know much about their bench. Have they real impact subs? They're relying all right on the 15, like and they might have one or two more subs to come in, but they don't have the depth like Clarenbridge, Loughrea, and that's where they're going. They're kind of at a disadvantage when it comes to, we say, 50, 60 minutes when you need to bring on fresh legs because the top 4 or 5 teams now are bringing on 4 or 5 subs every game. Whereas when we were hurling, you bring on one or two. It's gone to a new level altogether. So they need to up it if they want to kind of stay in the championship.
You said you fancied Mellows earlier on, Brady. Is this with, I suppose, you look at the attack in particular, you look at Tyg and Adrian Morrissey, the Elwoods, Conor Kavanagh, as we mentioned, like there's some real quality options here for scoring forwards, particularly for Mellows.
Yeah, and defensively, they've got goalkeeper. They're just a team that are coming shocks. I fancy them now the last couple of years. They were disappointed they didn't come up the year before, and Athenry came up, and look where Athenry are now. They're up now. They're Would they have taken it to beat Cappy by 7 when the group was given? Absolutely. And I know from talking to one of the Mellows lads today, he was saying they're 3-1 next weekend, which is a disrespect. He said. Um, he thinks they'll win it, and I do as well. Like Tyg Hearn played, he was probably the player of the week last weekend, along with Darren Neary or Hellebert or a few of them. But he was definitely in the running for the top 3 or 4 players. He's 34 now, I think. He was outstanding. Played a lot of his hurling in the half back line the last day. Started from corner forward and let him off. I seen a couple of clips and a couple of videos on the lads that showing me he was outstanding. Their movement as well. Conor Kavanagh came off the bench and scored 1-1. Um, I know Crowell. Listen, Crowell are like Clarenbridge, they're star-studded. I don't think Crowell were anywhere near 2 points of within Clarenbridge. A lot of the frees kept them in the game. They had only four different scorers. I think you're not going to win a championship game like that. Um, like Mellows had something like 7 or 8 different scorers. I just think Mellows they have no fear. They're confident. They're just going about their business quietly, and I do think they'll win this game by 3 points, especially in Athenry.
Suppose we didn't mention either with Mellows and Brady. It's like you look at Jack Hastings and Stephen Barrett there. They're on a Galway panel under Shane O'Neill briefly for a while, and they're obviously key players when Mellows won their last county title. But like they were going to really try and I suppose build off that midfield this weekend, and I suppose they're going to have to come up with some sort of a plan for Tom Monaghan this weekend.
Oh, they'll come up with a plan. Listen, plans go out the window, when you shake hands, shocks, and that's not being like every plan you have in the dressing room goes out the window. Like you shake his hand and that's it, and things happen on the field, and Mellows are well able to man mark a man. Trust me, they'll have someone for him, and you know, Crowell will have someone for Conor Cavan, and they'll have someone for Ty Karen, but that could change after 2 minutes. So it's 15 v 15. Now I know Tom Manning was poor the last day in his standards, and Emmet was saying there like that a lot is relied on him with Crowell, and rightly so. He was in line for hurler of the year this year. He's had a massive year with the county. He needs to have a massive year with the club now to back it up. His club need him, and that's not putting pressure on him because he's the kind of guy that puts pressure on himself. His club need him now. They need him against Mellows. I just think Mellows will have no fear of them. It'll be a cracking game of hurling. For me, it'll be one of the games of the weekend. There could be a good few goals in this game on both sides. Um, Good free takers on both sides. I think it'll be a right good game of hurling, but I'm going to go for Mellows by 3.
How do you see this one, Emmett?
Talking to Crowell lads, you'd put your house in Crowell this weekend, but like I'm gonna go for the draw. I think yeah, Mellows had a great start, but I think if they back it up, fair play to them. I'd be wrong, but I think it's going to be very tight. I go with a draw.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a big reaction coming from Crowell here this weekend, so I'm going to go Crowell by 3 points. I think they'll squeeze over the line in this one and get their championship campaign back on track. Saturday, probably the best double header of the weekend in the group of death, in Group 3 here. Um, if we look at the two games taking place in Kenny Park on Saturday afternoon, Ormore Mary versus Sarsfields, 4:15 in Kenny Park. If results don't go well, Emmet, for Ormore Mary this weekend, they could be out of the championship.
Yeah, they only lost Thomas's I think by 4 points. They're missing Rory Burke obviously. They're playing Sarsfields as well. They've only a point. Um, Drawn with Castle. Um, I think it's going to be another very tight game, but it's on Kenny Park. Yeah, Sarsfields, I think are going to step it up big time. They've they've um, they've too much firepower power there. With Kevin Cooney, Joseph Cooney. I think Alex Conair played very well. Ian Fox as well, and then obviously Darren Morrissey is back, playing very well. So or more. I just think they're relying a bit too much on the older lads as well. And Niall Burke, he's such a good hurler. Still relying on him a lot. But yeah, Sarsfields, I think, probably are under so much pressure, and I can't see them. I can't see them going out of the group. I was listening there last week. I've Sarsfields, Castlegar, and Thomas maybe are the hot three to come out. And if more don't, win this weekend against Sarsfields, they're under pressure. Kevin was saying last week he backed Castlegar, and I was sorry because I went for Sarsfields. Good old George Farrer putting over the free, like fair play to him. It was one of the two games I was wrong. So, yeah, so I just think Sarsfields will have too much for more.
Yeah, but we mentioned about Roy Burke's loss is a huge loss for Ormore Mary. No point to saying otherwise, but like Ormore Mary, Brady, looking at them, they need a massive performance this weekend because similar to maybe Clanbridge and Castlegary, like that scoreline did flatter Ormore Mary a lot. Like they were chasing that game for long periods against Thomas's.
They were, yeah, but like you're dealing with probably one of the greatest club teams ever in Thomas's. I know they've probably gone past their best, but they're still a serious outfit. You have a young team coming up like Ormore. You won the under 20, was it last year? They have a lot of young guys coming, but young guys take time at this game. It is a young man's game, but at the same time, you still have Niall Burke there leading the show. That just shows the quality of a player he is. But if you wanted one team, I suppose, that was in a dogfight to dig it out, you'd have to say Sarsfields will be up there, with
Yeah.
Loughrea and Thomas and these that they just don't let you down on the big day. If they're good enough, they'll be there. They're good enough to be there or more. I just think Sarsfields, after last weekend, they were disappointed that they didn't win it, but at the same time, they could have lost it as well. But I just think Sarsfields win this by 6.
Started by 6, yeah. John Cosgrove
Yeah.
and Darren Murphy both out this weekend. Darren Murphy with a knee injury and John Cosgrove with a broken thumb. Um, but Brady, talking about another Cooney who started championship fairly well, Aina Cooney on his debut, taking the penalty, scoring 1-6 on his championship debut. Not a bad day out for him.
And I start, but listen, like Cooney, just that name itself, it's you speak about pressure. Them boys just don't do it. They step up. They were born with hurl in their hand. They've seen it all their lives. They know exactly what it's about. He's looking at relations doing it. He's looking at brothers doing it. He's looking at, you know, everyone. Like he just knows what to do. He knows where the goal is, and he's great lads around him. They're letting a young fella, step up for a penalty at that age, and what confidence is going to give him going in the next day. And I think the more game is going to suit a player like him. It's going to suit Kevin Cooney, who's been a bit rusty there the last, 12 months. Not himself. I had great hopes from the county team. It just seemed to died off a small bit.
Well, injury
I just,
trouble there now a lot for him, but hopefully he
yeah,
can get
he had
himself
in
right now.
exactly if he can get himself right. And Joseph is back as well, and I just think, Sarsfields are going to be a serious outfit come later on in the year. That if they can keep everybody injury free, because I don't think they've had the last 2 years without 3 or 4 injuries, nigglies, and with a full team, they're in the top 3 or 4. So, um, I think they'll give Sarsfields a bit of a or more a bit of a clip in the weekend.
How do you see this one, Emmet?
Yeah, I think Sarsfield's by 4. Yeah, I think they're fairly sick now from last week, and they're gonna come out all guns blazing. So I think Sarsfield's by 4, and that's been nice to earn more.
Looking then, it's part of the double header as well. St. Thomas's taking on Castlegar 6 o'clock in Kenny Park. Thomas is obviously with an opening round win. Castle with a point on the board, and they'll be probably disappointed because they were really in control of that for periods. And then Sarsfields came back, and then obviously Farrer gets to 65 to draw the game. Um, Interesting one here. Shane Cooney's obviously an injury doubt as well for Thomas's this weekend. But if you look at round one, Thomas is just doing what they have to do really. Emmet, they're the experts at managing these games. They don't panic. They know how to do things and they know how to keep the foot in the throat.
Yeah, it's just coming from experience, really, isn't it? Like I think they've switched around a couple of positions that made sense, really. I think Finton he went out wing back, John
Yeah.
Head went back full back. Um, then you'd like David, Dara, sure. I think Ian Burke, we got another load of points as well. One of the best club hurlers, ever, along with, um, Shane Cooney, like or um,
Connor Cooney.
Connor Cooney, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, like the it'll be an interesting one. It's on in Kenny Park as well. Castlegar won't go down without a fight because they were lucky to get the draw, but then they were unlucky not to win against Sarsfields. They'll be disappointed with not coming away with the win. They were 6 points up, with 10 minutes to go. So and Dave, like Kevin said, he tipped them and he was right. He knew, so realistically they should have won, and they've great lads coming through, so especially with Darren Eary going so well this year with Galway, and the younger lads are coming to the fore as well, but Thomas is, yeah, it'll be hard to see them get bet this weekend as well. Yeah.
What's your own memories of playing against Jer Farrer?
Ger Farrer, just that like you'd every time you give away a free, you knew it was going over the bar, like and no matter where it was going. And he was so his striking of the ball. I used to stand behind him nearly sometimes just to admire the
Shout at him.
yeah, just to admire the trajectory of the ball. It doesn't, and like he had lovely ODs, didn't he use ODs, Kevin?
Yeah, but he changed to Higgins then. He makes the template of the OD for him, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and I think that's David as well. David Burke, he uses lovely ODs, and like his
Mm.
sidelines were lovely because they were made right with a nice toe on the hurl to get a good cut. Um, so I just remember him. He's very nice on the pitch. It's a gentleman on and off the pitch. I actually met him out more there a couple of months ago. So, um, yeah, I just in awe of his consistency really with frees was just unreal. And he's 44, is he?
43.
43. So I like I don't know. I'd love to know who was the oldest club senior
Yeah.
hurler. Um, like Joe Cooney stayed going a long time. Won the cars as well in Ballinderreen.
Yeah,
Um,
Paul.
yeah, hurled like up until mid 40s, but he's probably I think he should stay going for the record.
What's he say to him, Brady, after that performance first day out?
Actually, what can you say to him? Believe it or not, I wasn't at the match. I seen the video of it. I was caught. I was caught with my girl, up at the RDS, and I was being linked into all the scores and all the rest of it. But he rang me straight after, and he said we left it behind us. He was disappointed, but yet he was relieved. And the exact words out of his mouth were, "Darren Neary, man of the match, gave an exhibition." And you could just see that um, the admiration he had for him and all the guys have for Neary. He got 7 points from play. That's some shooting. That's some shooting against a Sarsfield team that are, a serious outfit. Brian Hanley involved with them. Um, like Emmet said it there. Like this is going to be a cracking game. It really is. You know, like on paper,
I think a
Thomas is
massive
all.
thing too for Cashel, which probably go under the radar, is they got Jack Coyne and Simon Thomas back on the pitch, and they scored 1-3 off the bench. Like that is huge. Like, and to get two players, I suppose, who had injury trouble, to get them back on the pitch is huge for Cashel.
Absolutely. Like, no disrespect to Cashel, but we've never really had a bench up there. We've had maybe 16 players and, bring on a guy, but your sub would be just brought on, you know, to just fill a void really. But now they're bringing on guys in Dev County, they've under 20 guys, they've a lot of lads in with the under 17s. You know, the future is bright for them. It really is. And I know Farrer is leaving the club in a far better place, but and like it's not about him anymore. It's about Darren Neary, which is a great thing, and it's taken pressure off Jur. Not the pressure bothered him, but now he can just do what he likes. Jur is not the county man anymore. Darren Neary is the man, and it's given him that bit of ease. And you know, like you can see, Darren is just he's just flying around the place at the moment. They've young Moran guy there as well, and um, like his dad is from Kilconnelly here as well, and his mum is from Kilconnelly, and he's a very very good hurler as well. But like if you go back to St Thomas's, like David Burke played his first league game for Thomas's this year. Imagine having him in with your club all year. We spoke about last year, 2 weeks ago. Shocks like that's some stat. Um, my heart is in Castlegar, of course, but like Colin, as I see it, I just think Thomas's they're still there. They're still a serious threat in Galway hurling. Um, like Aina Burke shot the lights out the last. Conor Cooney, he's had a massive year at Galway, and I thought he was finished. He looks fitter than he ever did. He looks fresher. He looks sharper. Finton Burke gone out to wing back, I think, is a great thing. It's letting him off up the field. John Hay gone back to full back, as Emmet said. They tried things and they worked the last day. But I know things work for Castlegar as well. It's going to be, listen, I'm not sitting on the fence on this one, Shocks. I'm going to call this one a draw. I really am. I just think this is going to come down to the wire. A lot of people wouldn't give Cashel a prayer the next day, but I think Cashel are really coming. Can I see them beating Thomas's? I'd love it. I really would. If it was 2 years ago, I'd say Thomas has beat them 10 points. But I just think Cash will have something coming there, lads. No more than Mellows. There's a quite confidence in the group. Um, the biggest thing for me is have Thomas's the hunger now. You know, they're so long there, and you can talk it up all you want in the dressing room, and you can have all your speakers and, you know, all your county guys and all the rest of it. But, you know, when time runs out in the legs, it runs out in the legs. And they've a lot of lads now on the wrong side of 28-30. So I just think it's going to be a draw, you know. I could be wrong on that, but I hope Cash will get something out of it, Shocks. So I'm going to go for a draw on this one.
I'm going for Cashel by a point here.
How about Shocks, way?
I think they've been through probably more of a battle than Thomas's. I think it was easy enough for large periods during Norm or Mary. I think the way that game, I suppose, ebbed and flowed a lot, and I think Darren Neary's pace is going to cause Thomas's real issues, particularly if they don't have Shane Cooney this weekend. So I think Cashel might just sneak this
Is
one by
Shane
a
Cooney
point.
definitely out?
He's a doubt, anyways. He went off. That was 60
Huge
minutes.
loss,
He
like.
went off, but he is a doubt, anyways, for them this weekend. So I just think Cashel might be more battle hardened this earlier in the year than Thomas's. So I think they'll nip this one. How do you see it, Emmett?
I love Castle to beat Thomas's.
That's nothing
Go
to
on,
do
then.
with the rivalry.
Um, I'm friendly with Mark Gill. He's a colleague of mine. I was golfing with him last week. Like I really want Castle to win, and I don't care if Thomas's lads are listening. Um, but I don't see them. I don't see them beating Thomas's. I just think that they'll have too much firepower. So Thomas is by 3.
Thomas is by 3 there, yeah. It could be one of the ties of the weekend,
Yeah.
um, as we mentioned. If we look at Group 4, then the two games taking place on Sunday here. But if we look at Athenry and Ardrahan first, um, what a result for Athenry in the opening round, but it's a bit of a dampener now. Keane Hannon, who got 1-3 for them in the opening round, did his cruciate last week, playing under 20, so he's out for the year now. Massive loss for them now, Emmet, and he's probably one of the standout performers in the opening round.
Yeah. That's at the Rye, and I was at the Ardrahan game against Ardrahan had a good win against Clammerdaly. It was on in Loughrea. I was very impressed with Ardrahan. Like they had a lot of injuries last year, and Joe O'Leary, was after getting them really, really back, on form with that young under 21 full forward. I was very impressed by him.
Oh, Brian
Um,
Callanan.
Brian Canlon. Yeah, he was very good. Like Liam Ford, centre back, was very good, and that Michael Walsh, full back. He was injured last year, wasn't he? I think.
Yeah, he had a bit of injury trouble, all right, last year, yeah.
Yeah, like he was full back. Like he's an awful big, strong man, and he hurled very well full back. Keenan Fahy then had like some brilliant scores. He got 2 or 3 brilliant scores from like 90 yards out. And then obviously Dara Fahy, his puck outs were unreal. They were hitting the 14-yard line in Loughrea, like, and he was pinging balls to lads' hands like from 80, 90, 70 yards. So Ardrahan, yeah, did a good win. Athenry, I don't. They're young, like they've 4, I think, 4 minors like playing there the last
Yeah.
time. I think, they went out against Turlough. They didn't care, and that's what young lads do. There was no pressure on them. Fair play to
Different
them.
sort of pressure now, though, isn't it? Again in Kenny Park for them.
It's on in Kenny Park again. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a different sort of pressure because it's kind of expected to do it again. Like now they're lucky it's against Ardrahan. It's not. They wouldn't be as strong or as physical as Turlough, even though they're still strong and physical, but not as physical and strong as Turlough. So I think they'll go out and express themselves again. they are under a little bit more pressure. They're both teams that have 2 points, like so. The winner of this one is really going to be in that group four, like top and getting to a quarter final, putting Clonmerdale under an awful amount of pressure. Who are playing Turlough, and again, it's like the Loughrea Mike Cullen game, Turlough Clonmerdale game. Unfortunately for Clonmerdale, they're coming against a wounded animal again against Turlough, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, this it'll be a good game now. The young hurlers, and I was disappointed with our Drahan in the last number of years because when we were playing them in like group games and in quarterfinals, like they were brilliant. Like they were just the Greens, Joe Leary, like Canlins. That they were just they were you'd be nervous going out playing them because they were very physical. So it's good to see them back in the mix and going well. So yeah, but it's going to be a hard one to call. I don't really probably Athenry, I'd say, because they're going well, especially with the professional setup they have and all of that, and coming up from last year.
You could really see opening day out, Brady Athenry that win over Turlough, how much it meant to them. But you can see really the hard edge even that Rory Gantley's brought since he's joined the backroom team this year.
Yeah, Gant knows what it's all about. He was in Clare there for a couple of years, and you know, when you speak about warriors, for a club of Beha, like Gant is some bit of stuff, and I hurled against him and hurled with him at Galway. When he was coming to the end, I was in and out of panels for a while. He's just a great way about him, and even his brother Brendan as well. Great coaches, great hurling men, great mindset. They moved with the game as well. The game's changed and they moved with it. Like, and that it suited Athenry. Hardy, he wasn't brought in by accident. No, you can be sure of that. This has been well thought out in Athenry. Who will get in here? A young coach with young guys and coach them, not talk to them or talk down to them. Bring them along and coach them, because they're always learning. I just think Athenry are. You could see after they beat Turlough, and I expected them to beat Turlough. Like
You didn't
if it
now
was
in
like,
your predictions, if we
well,
go back
we
to it.
said we said if Dahi wasn't playing, I thought they'd win, but
Yeah,
um, I thought he was taken out of the game really. They moved the ball around him very, very well. You could see the homework done, and it comes back to what we speak about Rory again. A young coach, and you could just see their movement. And like even like it goes back to what you speak about. Your county guys and what they do for a club. Like Jason Rabbit, he's young hurler of the year this year, guaranteed, and he'll get full forward as well, and rightly so. Um, he's an animal. He really is. But look at the young guys they have around him. Um, I just think, lads, these boys could be this Athenry team could be in a semi-final very, very quick. And I think for Galway, for Athenry, to be at the top tier of hurling, Galway needs it because when Athenry were going well, there was a real buzz around Galway hurling. And it's changing around. The guard is changing a lot. You have the likes of Crowell coming there. You have Athenry coming. You have a young Ardmore team. There's a big change in the guard coming. Loughrea are going for three in a row, but at the same time you can pick any of the six shots. So I just think Athenry, and then again you can have your case about Ardrahan. They won the under 20 last year in the B. Like they have a massive, massive amount of men, of serious hurlers. And Emmet hit the nail on the head there. We used to be nervous going out hurling these lads as well, because coming down the home straight, they were never far away. They've Keenan Fahy there, and they have a good centre forward. I just think Athenry, to cut it in a nutshell, I just think Athenry will win this game by maybe 4 points. I don't think they're going to shoot the lights out. Um, there is pressure on them in Athenry now as well, but I think they're well versed to back it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Athenry by two to edge this. As I mentioned, I think the loss of Keen Hannon is a big loss really for them this weekend. But I think Ardrahan will have a right crack at them here. The final game that we're going to look at in the senior championship, Turlough Clonmerdale. Clonmerdale without Brian Kincannon really gave a good rattle to Ardrahan and could have got something from it in the end. But Similar to Loughrea here, Emmet, there's probably a big reaction, you imagine, coming out from Turlough.
Yeah, I mean, Turlough, they have a lot of guys there, on Brislan and a lot of lads there training them. Every year they're kind of thereabouts, but never really kind of get over the line. And I think it'll hurt big time losing Tattenry. It'll hurt them big time. They'll come out now and they'll try and shoot the lights out against Clymer Daly. I just hope it's not a hammering, and that Clymer Daly put up a good show. I know they're down Concannon, unfortunately, but I was at the game. I was at the game. It was here in Loughrea, and I thought, um, you know, Clymer Daly have a nice little team there. Like they've Brian Burke there. He was brilliant. He was brilliant
Yeah,
from
1-8.
yeah. He got 1-8. Again, the striking of a ball is so it's the cleanest strike, like Farrer, the cleanest strike you'll ever see of a ball consistently. Um, they've David six played very well. Declan Conley, Aina Ryan was actually in goals. It was funny to see him in goals, but he did actually quite well. His puck outs were good and all that. Darren Daly very good as well. Came on an awful lot. And the Cravens. So, yeah, it's on. It's actually on in Loughrea. So that's Claremont. They'd love to would way prefer to play Turlough in Loughrea rather than Pearse Stadium. I'd put it to you like that. So hopefully it'll be a good game, but I think Turlough have this one probably.
Turlough by how much there, Emmet?
On Loughrea, no disrespect to Clymer Daly, but Turlough by 10 or more.
Yeah, I think Turlough by 8. How do you see this one, Brady?
Exactly what Emmet said, 10 plus. And that's not being disrespectful to Clymer Daly, as colour as I see it. I think Clymer Daly are going to be in big trouble to stay up this year. Um,
Yeah.
I seen them. I seen this. I seen them last year in this fixture as well. Turlough against them. There was a double header on Athenry, Cashel, and Sarsfield as well. When it went extra time, but it was game over at half time with Turlough and Clymer Daly. I think they won it by 18 points or something. Um, Turlough are they'll be wounded after the last day now. They won the league last year, and they won the league. They hadn't won it in something 20 something years, and they've won the league again this year. So they've got a bit of silverware. I know it's not what they want, but it's still silverware. They probably got caught on the hop against Athenry. Um, it probably got to them a small bit. Athenry were more up for it because they're probably younger guys and they were hungrier. I just think Turlough are going to come out of the traps the next day. They'll blow Clymer Daly out of the water. Brian Burke is a serious free taker, but I just think Turlough are so versed now in their tackling and everything else. And, you know, we always associated Turlough with big, strong men, good defenders, good midfielders, and pick off a forward or two. But the forwards everywhere now, and they have a serious bench. I know Tom Quirk went off injured the last day. I I assume he will be okay from what I heard. I think Turlough will win this easily enough, to be honest.
Yeah, that's just a senior. Just again, sorry there, Emmet. So, what's our Athenry by how much against Ardran for you?
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't give you that one. Athenry by 3.
Athenry by 3. Perfect. That is on the senior. We'll just briefly take a look then at the Premier Intermediate Hurling Championship. Friday evening, it's Kilkenire and Skahana Montbelly 7:30 in Duggan Park. Emmet Scanlon, Ballymoylaw coming into this one on the crest of a wave, like the momentum and confidence they're going to get after beating Mulla, Kilkenire, and on the other side of it, just scraping over Beha. Like there's massive momentum behind Scanlon Ballymoylaw here.
Yeah. Like Mulla, yeah, they did a good win, but Des O'Brien now will bring a lot of energy and heart, and there's good lads there because we play at Montbellew Holy Rosary, over the years, and they always
Probably
they
would have
always
came up against Killian Road, so would you?
Killian Roach broke my
Yeah.
heart. Um, every year. So he'd be full forward, like, and he'd score like 4-10, like, so he's an exceptional hurler. I haven't seen much of him since he left school. But he played well the last day against Mullia. I didn't see the
Yeah,
game
yeah,
now.
he was their top scorer against Mulla. Yeah,
Yeah, so they're doing a lot of work in Holy Rosary in Mount Bellew with hurling. Skahana as well joined. So there's good hurlers there. He's the standout. Mullia, on the other hand, I think David Glennon was injured. Like relying an awful lot on Roney. They still have good hurlers there. They're always, the Kennedys, Finnertys, Sean Canlon as well, like, really good, and Adam Rock, whatever. But like, it's just, I think um, they'll have too much for them.
yeah. Just looking, so Skahana on Ballymaloch coming up against Kilkenarren. Um, Kilkenarren, as I mentioned, Brady opening day out just got over Beha. And maybe people might have thought that they would have got over Beha more comfortably, but they didn't in the end. Like, they probably are one of the favourites to win this, but on form at the minute, for me, anyways, I think you'd have to be fancying Scanham on Ballymalough this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. After beating Mullia, I fancied Mullia, to be honest. I thought they'd beat them, and it's credit to them. Coming up against a big club like in the heart of hurling up there, and they're doing an awful lot of work in Mount Billy my Lashkahana. Kilkenarren, beating Beha, yeah, um, by a point, but like it was a point to beat them, wasn't it? Yeah, but like you will never beat Beha by any more than 2 or 3 points. So I wouldn't read an awful lot into that either. Shocks. I think Kilkenarren are a very very well balanced team. They have their targets set, for quarter final, semi final coming out of the group here. But after last week, or 2 weekends ago, I just think Mount or Scahan and Mount Ballymalough, I just think they'll go for it. I think they could win this game by a point.
And yeah, even still, you look at Kilkenarren, huge amount of quality. Oscar O'Gorman, Ulta McGlynn, O'Malley, Keith Burke, Eamon McGlynn, Shane Caulfield, and Stephen Kane as well in attack. So huge amount of quality there as well. The Kilkenarren side of things. Oisin Lohan, obviously continuing his intercounty form too, opening day out with Gahanna on Ballymalough. Who are you going for here, Emmet?
I was at the Kilkenarren and Beha match. No, two he went off injured of his
Yeah.
shoulder. It was a great game of hurling. It should have ended in a draw. The ref gave a very cynical foul here over in the corner for Kilkenarren to go a point up, and then they got another point. It should have been a draw. It was a great game of hurling. Um, but I think Kilkenarren or Scana. It's hard to call. I go Kilkenarren by
Right.
3.
Kilkenarren by three. You mentioned there being at obviously Beha and Kilkenarren. I suppose the big question when you look at Beha and Mulla, did Adrian Tui's injury look serious when he came off? Or
Yeah, like he doesn't go off too easy.
yeah,
Like, I mean,
He's had problems with that shoulder, hasn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
Mm.
It was, and the ground was awful hard. Like, I mean, it didn't look. Now we could be, but I think they might rest him for 2 more weeks. So
yeah.
but he
They've
is a big
already have
loss.
obviously had Joe Ganley injured too. He missed that one with his hamstring too. Like they're two big losses for Beha in fairness, if they are out.
If they are out, yeah, they are two big losses. The Gantley, I mean, like, he's another stalwart for Baha. I mean, you had Adrian Toohey as well, played very well there, cornerback. He was number 5, I think. Um, you had Pádraig Landers was good as well, and I was very impressed with Kevin Keehan as well, going so strong. He's, I think, I'm 37. He must be 39, I'd say, 38. I don't in the two. Yeah, they were just like Kevin said. They give it all a heart, back. They always give everything, and we all played them in quarterfinals and group games. A lot of quarterfinals we bet them in, and they were always, it was just 2 or 3 points in it, like.
Yeah. Who are you going for there, Muller or Beha?
I'm going to go with because Tui's injured and Mulla were bet. Mulla should come out all guns blazing here and beat them by 3 points or four.
Yeah, I'm going to go Muller by 4. Who are you going for here, Brady?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Muller because you can't afford to lose. Joe Gantley, a hamstring. I was at that over 40s game, a Masters hurling game, and he wasn't. He was very uncomfortable going off, and that's definitely a 5 or 6 week thing. Tui is a massive loss, lads. He's had trouble with that shoulder for a few years now. He's as tough as teak. He's their leader there in Joe Gantley, and I know the two lads are moving on, but they're still the backbone of that team. Um, I just think there's a bounce in Mull, I really do. With David Glenn and maybe and Ronnie and the boys, I just think that Mull will win this one by 3.
Yeah, Carl Dervin obviously coming on for Muller too there 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago as well. Credit to him to stay going there too. Uh, Group 2, probably the group of death. Meath Aircourt and Kinvara half two Loughrea. On Saturday, Kinvara coming into this one on a loss. Aircourt coming into this on a back of a massive win over Portumna. Looking at this one, it's a repeat of last year's intermediate final too, Brady. So Kinvara will definitely, I suppose, remember that defeat heading into this one, and Aircourt will really want to, I suppose, push on again after beating Portumna.
yeah, exactly. That was a cracking game. You know, Joe then getting the headlines yet again with his goals and like some game of hurling. This game could be probably one of the games of the weekend, lads. It really could. Both teams are so evenly matched. Um, this could be a draw, shocks. Like there's nothing between these two teams. Um, a huge scalp there for Airport last week. Uh, Kinvara are moving well. I think this is going to be a draw.
I think Kinvara might just get one over on Aircourt. Revenge.
Where's that game
Right.
on?
That's on Saturday at half two in Loughrea.
Loughrea, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Kinvara might get revenge on them. They, in fairness, had a positive performance against the Haskerfoe on our opening day out, just coming up short there. But how do you see this one, Emmet?
Yeah, I was at the Kinvara Ascarfona game. It was on Loughrea here. Very great game of hurling as well. Like there was only a couple of points in it in the end. Um, what you call it? Um, Connor or Whelan, like he had so many wides, but then he got one of the best goals I ever seen. He caught the ball and he turned in the air and he ran in from midfield nearly and scored a goal to bring them back into the game. Um, so they're playing, yeah. So I think Kinvara as well, Paul will be want revenge against Aircourt, you know. So yeah, I'd say Kinvara by 4.
Where before? Haskerfoe and Portumna, Duggan Park, 3 o'clock. It's a double header with Captagal and Clarenbridge. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people going to this probably
Yeah,
before Clarenbridge and Captagal, particularly when it's the Manions coming up against Declan McLaughlin and Joe Cunningham. Like plenty of talent. Like Haskerfoe, obviously you have the brother involved there with them, but
yeah. Cousin.
or cousin, sorry.
Sorry, yeah. Brian,
But
yeah, Brian. Sure, yeah, they shouldn't have lost that game last year against Mellows, you know. And he took them over again this year, you know, because you can't really leave a team on that note. Um, they weren't too hectic now against Canberra. Like Parg was brilliant. Cahill is always brilliant for Galway, but it's hard to come back out of a Galway setup and then get motivated straight away for your club, especially when you're so long on the road, like So he didn't have a great game. So this weekend, I'd tip him to be scorer. I'd know 7 or 8 points from play because he was so quiet against Kinvara, and Brian now. I was chatting him as well after, and he wasn't too happy with the performance. Like they had a lot of wides and they just fumble and ball, and it was very scrappy. Like and it was a lovely day for hurling. It shouldn't have been as scrappy as it was. The lads were dropping ball and a couple of bad wides. So um, they're playing Portumna.
yeah,
Yeah, sure,
if
Joe.
Portumna lose this, like they're in real bother of even coming out of this group. or could
Yeah.
potentially go down to themselves in Kinvara. But like obviously Andy Smith in his first year in charge of Porto, I'd be keen now for them to get a win.
It'd be keen for them to get a win, but I think Pádraig Mannion and Joe Canning, that'll be a good markup. Or well, Joe's playing six actually for them, sorry, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
So yeah, so
Yeah,
that's going to
Carl.
be Carl to be on him, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think Joe's going to be running around after Carl Mannion. So I don't know, like I don't know what they're going to do there. So they're going to be up against it with that situation. So it's going to be a hard one to call. I have to go for Hascafona because if Brian listens to this, he'll be giving out to me. So um, but it depends on how Canning plays, like because he could shoot the lights out as well.
I asked her by how much there.
A Haskell by a point.
Ask her by a point. Yeah, it's a tough one to call here, but I'm similar to you. I think I ask her get the job done here, and I'll put them in a good spot before they play Aircourt. So I'm gonna go Hasker by 3. How do you see this one, Brady?
I'm going to go Haskell by 2. I think they'll win their out this year, lads. The intermediate. I think they have a series like with Brian involved with them. I know so he's second year, and I always say you get the best out of your team in a second year. He knows how to win, and the man is know how to win. It's going to be a cracker. You have a team coming down like Portumna and for me, a Haskell Horizon. They're just coming now. And the Manions have been carrying them for so long, but they have such youth coming, lads. They have such a blend of hurlers now. Now there are a good few of them guys as well that are cross coded with the football. I don't know. I wasn't talking to Brian. Now Emmet might know more about that. Have the many lads involved with Calcer, but I just think a Haskell they're a team that are coming up. Portumna are just. It's going to be a crying shame to see them go down, lads, if they do, get into a dogfight because they've Canning now back at 6. He'll take every shot. He'll take all his 21s, he'll take all the penalties, he'll take everything from 90 yards out, and all they'll do is, they'll drop a centre fielder to number 6, leave Joe free, and drop a corner forward out to midfield.
Yeah.
And that's what they'll do. That's all they can do. That's all they can do. But sure, the Manions will have that well sorted, and that's going to give Pádraig Mannion just like he'll score as much as Cahill lads, and you have Sean Blaheen and all the lads inside. I just think a Haskell will win it by 2, and they could win it by a lot more, but a Haskell by 2, but at a comfortable 2 shots.
Just Group 3 then Ballygare playing Rahul Newcastle in Tuam Stadium Friday evening. Surprisingly, I suppose, going on form, you would have fancied Ballygare to maybe defeat Pearses, but in fairness, what a result for Pearses opening day out. Rahul coming into this too, on the back of a defeat to Ballinderreen, but probably would expect Brady Ballygare to have too much for Rahul Newcastle.
Yeah, I fancied Rahun the first day to be honest, but geez, they took an awful hide the last day, didn't they?
Yeah, against
Um,
Ballinderreen.
yeah, Ballinderine are a good side now, lads. They
Yeah.
really are. But I just thought there was a kick in Rahun. I fancied them with the last few years, and I suppose there was probably more loyalty to you know um chunky than Anthony, if that makes sense, because you'd like to see your old colleagues sort of move on and have a bit of luck. But Ballinderry are a serious outfit. Ballygare lads, they were beaten by Pierce's. Like Pierce's had a league final with Ceylon boys. Like that's a
Two
good
two
Ceylon
lads
team.
back, two lads back from Australia that they didn't have, Shea
Mm,
Flannery and Ronan Bellew, who are back with them
exactly, and
now.
two
So
serious lads to have back.
yeah,
And I think that defeat against Ceylon has driven them on, lads. I really do in Pierce's. Um, so I think Ballygare got caught the last day. I think Ballygare will beat them. I think they'll beat them comfortably enough, to be honest with you. Um, I go for Ballygare by 6. I know they have a few lads crossed as well with the football in St. Brendan's and Glenamaddy, who was involved with last year, and both of them teams are going okay in the football as well. So they need a win in the hurling now. They went well in the hurling last year. They'll want to
yeah.
replicate it
Actually,
again
haven't
this
got a
year.
win in football yet.
No, they
This
haven't.
year.
No,
Yeah,
Glenamaddy have, but Brendan's
yeah.
haven't. So I go with Ballygare for by 5, lads.
Ballygare by 5. I'm similar to you. I think Ballygare get it back on track and win by 6. How do you see this one, Emmett?
Yeah, Ballygare, like they were so close last year against Aircourt and
Hmm.
Ballinasloe, and they just threw the game away before our junior A final. Um, so I'd say Ballygare by 4. Yeah, they're a lot better than people think.
Yeah, and playing Division 1 2 in the league
Yeah,
done them no harm
Yeah,
whatsoever.
huge. Yeah.
Uh, Pierce is then and Ballindoreen, both teams on the back of a win. I suppose Ballindoreen have been established themselves, whether when it was, I suppose, back at the senior B levels, they've been a consistent team, and Pierce's as well have momentum on the back of a huge result against Ballygare.
yeah, Ballindereen, like they were always a real good senior team. You know, and they've a good few young lads coming through. I know Robbie Meehan there. He's centre forward. He's a very very fast, fit hurler, very good. Still have Kevin Lan and Shane Larkin as well midfield. So they still have some very good hurlers, and I think the manager Keith Conley knows what he's at. So I think Ballindureen should probably get another win here. Did a good win against who's the play? Rahun, was it? Or
Yeah, Rahun, yeah.
yeah, they
Yeah.
played Rahun. So yeah, again, a team that's improving. They're doing a lot of S&C in the high performance unit in Loughrea. So and you can see it in them. They're getting big and strong, So um, I'd say Ballindureen should have enough in the tank for the next day as well.
By how much there, Emmett?
I'd say 6 points.
6 points. How do you see this one, Brady?
I go for Ballinderring by 4. I just think they have, like, you're looking at two former senior teams here, lads. That were
Yeah.
very, very hard beat. Ballinderring were always known as the faster um, and more skillful kind of a team. Pierce's would have been more of a dogged kind of a team, and that's no disrespect. But they've gotten their two guys back again since the league final, as you said, Shocks, was a huge thing for them. And to go on and beat Ballygare last day. I just think Ballinderring, lads, they have a good free taker. They have a very, very nippy forward line, good goalkeeper, good coaching structure behind them. I think Ballinderring will win this by 4, yeah.
I'm gonna go Pierce's by 3. As I mentioned, the two lads back there I think are huge for them. Looking then at Group 4 in the Premier Intermediate Championship, Kilnadeem Leitrim, Carnmore, 6:45 in Kenny Park on Friday evening. Carnmore obviously took a big clipping to Tina Aberdeenry opening day out. Kilnadeem Leitrim coming into this one on the back of an impressive win over Clymer. When you see what I suppose Dean Aberdeenry did to Carramore, you think probably Brady that Kilnadeem and Leitrim are probably going to be a level above Carramore again this week.
I will, yeah. Carmore aren't in a great place, to be honest. They took an awful clipping. They were hockey the last evening. Um, it was on
Particularly
a
when
Friday evening.
they were so competitive in previous years against Tina Aberdeenry at intermediate level. Took them to extra time on one occasion, so it was surprising.
Yeah, there's just yeah, but Team Aberdeenry, they're a very very good team. They're established. They know what they're about. They're always at the closing into the business into the year, lads. Carmore haven't been up at the top table for a while now. For me, they have been falling off. From senior down to this intermediate, higher intermediate, whatever you want to call it. But I just think they're struggling here as well, lads. I really do. Um, no more than Portumna now. They're on a team that's on the way down. So I just think Leitrim will beat them by 5 or 6 points, lads. And that's not being disrespectful to Carramore because I know a lot of the lads up there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for Kilnadeem by 5 here. I think there will be some sort of direction in Carramore. But still, when you have players like Colin Malloy, Jack Kenny, Brian Malloy in attack, and even Daniel Comer at the back, along with Stephen Malloy, Adam Nolan, plenty of quality. Probably Kilnadeem are further down the line here than Carramore. Who do you see winning this one, Emmett?
Yeah, same as you, Paul. Like with all them lads you named, they're all young, and some of them are 25, 26, and just getting into their prime. Like Jack Kenny there, he's captain. Colin Malloy as well. He came on in All Ireland final, like so, and Brian Malloy as well is back doing a lot of training, and so it's great to see that as well. He's going to be very hard mark. He's someone to make space. So Killadine and Leitrim, I'd say, unfortunately for Carnmore, by 8 points.
Points. Looking at the last game then, Sunday, 1 o'clock in Loughrea, Teen Abbott and Irie Climber, 1 o'clock in Loughrea. Matty Kenny will have to be happy enough, Emmet, where Teen Abbott and Irie are at the minute.
Yeah, it's no real surprise really. Any team he takes over, um, he gets the best out of them, like, because the training sessions are different level. They're very intense. Like Teen Abbott and Irie, very proud senior team over the years. I still have lads there like Shane Maloney.
Actually playing centre back for them this year too.
He's playing centre back, is he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Paul Breheny, like, you're still saying like Paul Killeen there as well. So
Miguel
David
Power as
Turlough,
well, who was with the seniors too.
yeah. So like he wouldn't be training a team unless he genuinely believes that they're going to win. So they're in a good place, and from what I hear, training is going very well, and lads are happy. It's kind of they're kind of coming of new lads coming in as well, like, so um they're playing Climber, who
Yeah.
I don't know too much about now, to be honest. But I'd fancy Justine Avenari with just the Matty Kenny effect, as I'd say.
How much for you there, Tina?
Uh, I'd say 5 points, Tina Avenari.
Yeah, I think Tina would win by 7. Climber coming into this one too, similar to Carramore on the back of heavy defeat. Brady, how do you see this one?
Yeah, I just think Tina are going to be in the final with the Haskell lads. I think they're the two standout teams in this intermediate. If I was pushed at the moment, I'd be saying a Haskell, but Tina right behind them. I think the two teams are out on their own. Any of them listening to this will say what's he on about. Uh, you know, you have like it comes back to the Matty Kinney thing, lads, and they're on the road so long together now. This team, they're coached so well, and there's such belief within in their group. They're training like a top senior team. And like that, them lads are looking at it later on in the year. Um, the biggest thing for them now is keeping injury free. You spoke about the few boys there. Blay or Paul Killeen there now, and a few more of the guys. You have to keep all of these guys fresh. You have got to keep them fresh. And I think Matty, while the ground is still hard, he needs to get another 2 points on the board. That'll see them out of the group, and then you're into the knockout stages where they become very dangerous. So I think Tina could win this one by 8+, lads.
Just before we finish then, the junior fixtures for people who aren't aware. So, Group 1, it is Ceylon coming up against Mihal Brannock's 5:45 there on Saturday in Pearse Stadium, and it's Abbeynockmoy Ballinasloe Sunday at 12 in Pearse Stadium. Kiltormer with the bye there in Group 1 at the Premier Junior Hurling Championship. Saturday then, Spiddle Saltine at Pearse Stadium at 4 o'clock, and then Barna and Fairbricka versus Annadown at 4 o'clock in Carranmore, and it's Kilbacanty with the bye there in Group 2 of the Premier Junior Hurling Championship. But that is all we do have time for on today's show. Thanks to Brady and Emma for coming on to this week's podcast.